Imagine waking up in London in 1558. The first thing that hits you is the smell: human waste, rotting animals, and smoke so thick it burns your eyes. The streets are filled with people who will likely be dead before the age of 40. And the most dangerous thing you can do that day is say the wrong prayer. This is not the romantic past. This is the real one. In 1558, London is home to around 120,000 people. That sounds modest by today's standards, but for its time, London is one of the largest and most chaotic cities in all of Europe. And the first thing any visitor notices about London in 1558 is not its buildings, not its famous bridge, and not its royal palaces. It is the smell. The stench of 1558 London is something no modern person could prepare for. There is no waste collection system, no underground sewage. When people need to dispose of human waste, they throw it directly into the street from their windows, sometimes shouting a warning beforehand. Animal dung is everywhere. Horses, pigs, cattle, and chickens all share the streets with people. Slaughterhouses drain blood into open gutters. Tanneries process animal hides using urine. And the River Thames, which runs through the heart of everything, collects all of it. The streets themselves are narrow, dark, and deliberately confusing. They wind and twist with no logical grid. Most are unpaved, just compacted dirt and filth. Buildings lean toward each other from both sides, their upper floors jutting out so far that the sky above is reduced to a thin strip of light. On overcast days, and London has many of those, the streets below feel more like tunnels than roads. London Bridge is the only crossing over the Thames at this time, and it is nothing like a modern bridge. It is a living street. Buildings rise 5 and 6 stories on both sides of it. Shops, homes, and chapels all exist on this bridge simultaneously. And mounted on iron spikes at the gatehouse, visible to everyone entering the city from the south, are the severed heads of executed traitors, coated in tar to slow their decay. This is not a decoration. It is a message, a very clear one. In 1558 London, the single most important fact about any human being is not their intelligence, their kindness, or their ambition. It is who their parents were. The class system of Tudor England is ironclad, legally enforced, and present in every single moment of daily life. At the top sits the nobility, dukes, earls, and barons, who own vast lands and live in almost unimaginable comfort. Below them, the gentry. Below the gentry, the merchants, some of whom grow enormously wealthy through trade, then craftsmen, then laborers, and at the very bottom, the vagrants and beggars, who are treated with a mixture of pity and deep suspicion. What most people do not know is that the English government in 1558 actually passes laws controlling what different classes are allowed to wear. These are called the sumptuary laws. A merchant, no matter how rich he becomes, is legally forbidden from wearing the same fabrics and colors as a nobleman. Purple, crimson silk, and expensive furs are reserved strictly for the highest ranks. Anyone caught dressing above their station faces heavy fines. The entire point is to make sure that one glance at a person on the street tells everyone exactly where they belong in society. The gap between top and bottom is staggering. A wealthy lord might host a banquet costing more than a laborer earns in 5 years. That same laborer, meanwhile, works every daylight hour just to put bread on the table, and on many days, even that is not guaranteed. Here is a fact that surprises almost everyone. In 1558 London, nobody drinks water. Not because water is unavailable, but because everyone understands, without needing science to explain it, that London's water will make a person violently ill or kill them outright. The Thames is an open sewer. Wells are frequently contaminated, so instead, every man, woman, and child in London drinks ale. Weak ale, low in alcohol, but fermented enough to be safe. Ale is not a treat, it is survival. For the poor, and the poor make up the overwhelming majority of London's population, food is monotonous and scarce. The foundation of every meal is bread. Coarse, dark, dense bread made from rye or barley. Alongside it, pottage, a thick vegetable stew of peas, beans, onions, and whatever scraps are available. Meat is a luxury that many poor families taste only on feast days or special occasions. When they do get it, it is often heavily salted and strongly spiced, not for flavor, but because spices help disguise the smell of meat that has been sitting too long. The wealthy eat in a completely different world. Feasts at noble tables feature roasted swan, venison, elaborate pies, exotic spices, and wines imported from across Europe. Strangely, vegetables are looked down upon by the rich in this era. They are considered peasant food. The wealthy eat primarily meat, course after course. And then there is sugar. Sugar in 1558 is extraordinarily expensive and is the ultimate status symbol. The rich consume it obsessively, in desserts, in wine, in medicines. The result is that wealthy Londoners frequently have severely rotted blackened teeth. And here is the remarkable twist. Blackened teeth actually become fashionable because they signal that a person is wealthy enough to afford sugar. It is one of history's stranger status symbols. Life in 1558 London is short. The average life expectancy at birth sits somewhere between 35 and 40 years. But this number tells only part of the story. It is pulled down sharply by the catastrophic death rate among infants and children. Roughly 1 in 3 children born in London during this period will not survive to their 5th birthday. They are taken by dysentery, smallpox, sweating sickness, or simple infections that modern medicine would treat in a matter of days. Hanging over all of London, every single day, is the shadow of plague. The bubonic plague has been striking England repeatedly since the Black Death of the 14th century, and in 1558 it is still very much an active threat. When an outbreak begins, it spreads with terrifying speed. Families lose multiple members within days. Red crosses are painted on the doors of infected households. The residents inside are locked in, sick and healthy alike, to contain the spread. Carts move through the streets at night, collecting the dead. The words, "Bring out your dead," are not a movie invention. They are a real memory that many Londoners carry. Medical treatment in 1558 is, by modern standards, almost entirely ineffective and often actively harmful. Trained physicians still work from ancient Greek theories, believing that illness is caused by imbalances in 4 bodily fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. The most common treatment for nearly any condition is bloodletting, cutting the patient or attaching leeches to drain what doctors believe is excess blood. This regularly makes sick people significantly worse. Surgeries are performed without anesthesia. Childbirth, which happens at home with midwives and no formal medical backup, kills a significant number of women. Dentistry consists almost entirely of extraction, with no painkillers. Life in 1558 means living with a level of physical suffering that is difficult to fully comprehend from a modern perspective. In 1558, the working day begins before sunrise and ends when the light is gone. There are no weekends as modern people understand them. There is no retirement age. There are no sick days, no labor protections, and no concept of a minimum wage. Sunday is the one day of rest, but rest means attending church, which is legally compulsory. Missing Sunday service without a valid reason is a finable offense. Most Londoners work in trades: baking, brewing, weaving, blacksmithing, carpentry, fishing, or selling goods in the market. The apprenticeship system governs entry into almost every skilled trade. Boys as young as 7 or 8 are sent from their families to live and work in the home of a master craftsman, learning a trade over a period of 7 years. During those 7 years, they receive no wages, only food, shelter, and education in the craft. It is a form of indentured service, and it is considered completely normal and even fortunate. A boy without an apprenticeship has very few paths forward. Women in 1558 London work constantly, but are largely invisible in the historical record. They manage households, raise children, assist in family trades, brew ale, work as market sellers, midwives, and domestic servants. Legally, a married woman in Tudor England has almost no independent rights. Everything she owns becomes her husband's property upon marriage. Widows have somewhat more freedom. They can run businesses and hold property, which makes widowhood, strange as it sounds, one of the more legally empowered positions available to a woman in this era. Children in poor families work, not in the background, actively, daily, as a necessary contribution to the family's survival. Fetching water, minding livestock, running errands, helping in workshops. Childhood as a protected, innocent period of life is largely a concept that does not exist for poor families in 1558. Crime in 1558. London is rampant, creative, and met with punishment that is designed to be seen by as many people as possible. The philosophy of Tudor justice is not rehabilitation. It is deterrence through public spectacle. Pickpockets and petty thieves operate everywhere, at markets, at festivals, on London Bridge, in any crowd. Professional con artists run elaborate schemes. There are organized networks of beggars coached to fake injuries and disabilities to extract more sympathy and coins from passers-by. London, in 1558, has a genuine criminal underworld with its own slang, its own hierarchy, and its own territories. When criminals are caught, punishment is swift and public. Minor offenses lead to the pillory, a wooden frame that locks a person's head and hands in place in a public square, where crowds are not just permitted, but encouraged to throw things at them. More serious crimes lead to whipping, branding, or the removal of ears. Repeat offenders and those convicted of serious felonies face hanging, carried out at Tyburn, a public execution ground to the west of the city, in front of crowds that can number in the thousands. Executions are public events. People bring their children. Vendors sell food. It is, in the truest sense, entertainment. For those accused of treason against the crown, the punishment is something far more elaborate and horrific. Hanging, drawing, and quartering, a process so brutal that even describing it is unsettling. The message is not just punishment. It is a demonstration of royal power. And the Tower of London, standing on the north bank of the Thames, serves as the ultimate symbol of that power. A place where nobles, queens, and enemies of the state disappear, often never to be seen alive again. Despite, or perhaps because of, the harshness of daily life, Londoners in 1558 pursue entertainment with genuine enthusiasm. And their tastes are, by modern standards, startling. The most popular spectator entertainment of the era is bear baiting. A bear, chained to a post in a circular arena, is attacked by a pack of trained dogs, while a crowd watches and bets on the outcome. These arenas, the bear gardens, sit on the south bank of the Thames, just outside the city's jurisdiction, and they draw enormous crowds from all levels of society. Cockfighting is equally popular. These are not fringe activities. They are mainstream, beloved, and attended by the same people who go to church on Sunday. Taverns are the social centers of London life. They are where news is exchanged, deals are made, arguments are settled, and where ordinary people spend what little leisure time and money they have. Ale flows freely. Dice and card games are everywhere, despite gambling being officially frowned upon. Theater in 1558 is still finding its feet. Shakespeare will not begin writing for another 30 years. But performances already happen in tavern courtyards, at fairs, and in the streets. Traveling players perform comedies, morality tales, and crowd-pleasing spectacles. Religious holidays, and there are many of them on the Tudor calendar, bring festivals, feasts, and temporary relief from the grinding routine of work. These days matter enormously to ordinary people. They are moments of color and release in lives that are otherwise defined by labor and uncertainty. Of all the forces shaping life in 1558 London, none is more powerful or more dangerous than religion. And in 1558, England is in the middle of a religious crisis that has been tearing the country apart for decades. Henry VIII broke England away from the Catholic Church in the 1530s to form the Church of England. His son, Edward VI, pushed the country further toward Protestant reform. Then, Mary I, who takes the throne in 1553, reverses everything and drags England back to Catholicism with terrifying force. During her 5-year reign, nearly 300 Protestants are burned alive at the stake for refusing to convert. History will remember her as Bloody Mary, and ordinary Londoners who lived through her reign carry those memories like open wounds. The terror of this period is not just the executions, it is the constant uncertainty. Every time a new monarch takes power, the officially correct religion can change. Neighbors inform on neighbors. Priests are watched. People learn to keep their true beliefs hidden, to say the right words publicly while thinking something completely different privately. Faith in 1558 is not a personal, private matter. It is a public performance with life or death consequences. Church attendance is mandatory and monitored. The church controls not just spiritual life, but records of birth, marriage, and death. It influences what people can read, what plays can be performed, and what can be openly discussed. There is no separation of church and state in 1558. They are the same force, wearing different faces. On November 17, 1558, Queen Mary I dies at St. James's Palace. She is 42 years old, and her reign has left England exhausted, divided, and frightened. Within hours, the news spreads through London. The new queen is Elizabeth, 25 years old, Protestant, and the daughter of the most controversial woman in English history, Anne Boleyn. The reaction across London is extraordinary. Bonfires are lit in the streets. Church bells ring across the city. People who have spent years whispering their Protestant faith in secret suddenly feel something they have not felt in a long time. Something close to hope. Elizabeth rides into London for her coronation procession in January 1559, and the crowds that line the streets are enormous. She speaks to them directly, steps down from her carriage to accept gifts from ordinary people, and makes them feel, for perhaps the first time, that their queen actually sees them. What Elizabeth inherits is a country in genuine crisis. The treasury is nearly empty. England has just lost Calais, its last territory in France, a national humiliation. The religious divide is raw and dangerous. Half of Europe views her as illegitimate. Catholic powers abroad are already plotting against her. But something shifts in London after November 1558. The executions for religious difference stop almost immediately. The atmosphere of pure fear begins to lift. It will take years for Elizabeth to consolidate power, and decades before her reign produces the golden age that history associates with her name. But for ordinary Londoners, on that cold November day in 1558, the simple fact that the burning has stopped is enough. For now, it is enough. Life in 1558. Elizabethan London was not romantic. It was not glamorous. For the vast majority of people who lived it, it was short, hard, and uncertain in ways that are almost impossible to fully imagine from the comfort of the modern world. These were people who drank ale because water would kill them, who worked from before sunrise to after dark with no protections and no safety net, who lived every day under the shadow of plague, religious persecution, and public punishment. And yet, they also laughed in taverns, bet on bear fights, celebrated feast days with genuine joy, and felt real hope when a young queen rode through their streets and looked them in the eye. History is never just kings and queens and grand battles. It is also this, the ordinary, messy, painful, and surprisingly human story of everyday people trying to get through the day. And that story is worth knowing. If this video opened up a part of history that felt real and alive, then please hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who love history told this way. Subscribe so the next deep dive comes straight to the feed. And share this with someone who thinks history is boring, because after this, they won't. The next video is already waiting. Do not miss it.